Hello friends, welcome to Dhari. In continuation to our AWS session, now we will be discussing on AWS S3. So without wasting time, let's jump into the video. But please do like, share and subscribe. There we go. Here is our AWS S3. Let us try to understand what S3 is. Introduction to AWS S3. AWS S3, which is also termed as Simple Storage Service, is an object storage service which provides scalability, data availability, security, and performance. Commonly used for backups, static websites, hosting, and big data analysis. So, looking at this definition, we can understand that there is a hard drive on cloud where I can put my files as part of backups, as part of static websites hosting integrations, or for any other analysis. Suppose I want to upload a file and I want to download a file, I have to maintain some infrastructure in my organization or within my local box. When I subscribe to AWS, I'll get 5 GB of data into S3 where I can do these operations. Now, let's jump to S3 buckets and its objects. So here the definition of buckets is containers for storing objects. Objects stands for files or any other metadata. Objects are data stored in S3. These are also files, metadata along with versioning. Each object has a unique key, which is file name plus path. Now let's try to understand S3 storage classes and lifecycle rules. Storage classes are standard, intelligent tiering, Glacier, deep archive. So as we discussed in our first session, Glacier are also a concept of S3 where the archival process depends on whether we want to keep or not. So that's a short memory wherein the archival process kicks off. Coming to lifecycle rules, these are automatically transition objects to cheaper storage or delete file after some time. So on my storage I have a file, it can be a standard, Glacier, whatever be that, and my lifecycle rules tells when it has to be deleted or the archival process has to ignite. Let's discuss on security and access control in S3. These are driven by bucket policies and IAM policies, which IAM policies we will be discussing in some other sessions. These buckets can be public or private. There are two types of encryptions, server-side encryption and client-side encryption, which also denotes as SSE and CSE. Coming to access control lists, ACLs, we will see these ACLs in our live demo and block public access BPS in our live demo. Let's jump to AWS and create one small S3 to upload and manage my file storage system. So friends, once I log into AWS, I can find my S3 link here. Once I click here, I will be redirected to S3 configuration page. If this is the very first time, it will redirect us to a create bucket page. Let's see. As you can see, this is my first instance. So I have to click on create bucket. Once I am into this page, AWS will ask me some default configuration, and as I told, you will start loving AWS because of these small plugins which creates an entire environment across the cloud instances we have. So the very first thing is we have to choose whether it is a general purpose or a directory. Let's go with a general purpose and let's give a demo bucket as my name. If there are any configurations that are previously available, we can copy those configurations from choose bucket option. Here comes our ACLs, which are under object ownership. So what do we mean by object ownership? Control ownership of objects, those are files, metadata and other stuffs which we discussed, return to this bucket from other AWS accounts and use of access control lists. Object ownership determines who can specify access to objects. So in this definition, as you can see, from other AWS accounts, if you want to get the files or the metadata, you have to share those. This is the control mechanism provided by these object ownerships, which are divided into two: ACLs enabled or ACLs disabled. For me, as of now, I am going with ACLs disabled. Now, the next configuration is, does this bucket should have public access? I don't want any public access on my bucket. I want my bucket to be complete private. So if you want to enable or disable, just check or uncheck these options. Do you want to maintain bucket versioning, which is part of Lifecycles? I am going with a disable option. Any default encryption would you like to go? We discussed on two: server side and client side. So as of now, I am going with a server side. Server side encryption option. As we discussed, right, there are certain things that has to be managed over key and pair combinations, so that to make our S3 more secure or my instance secure. So as of now, I am going with an enable option, and then I have to click here. So there is an error while entering bucket name. Let us try to understand what are the combinations of bucket names we have, and what is the usage that we have to go with, and what are the validations that AWS will fire while creating a bucket name. If I go to this, so these are the general purpose buckets name rules that we have to adhere with, and it also says across all AWS accounts and all the regions, the bucket name should be unique. Friends, remember this. It is a star certificate question. Means when you go for a certifications, this will be definite question. So now I am going with a unique name. Say my project AWS bucket for demo, and then I'll click on create bucket. As you can see, it's now loading, and now welcome, my first bucket is created. So this is how we have to create our bucket, and what our next session is going to be is, we will be integrating this bucket into Visual Studio. We will be uploading a file from my local box to this bucket, and we will be downloading the file from this bucket. Okay, this is going to be our next session. But before going into that, let's do a physical upload. There we are. Now my S3 is created. To upload files physically into this S3, I have to select the bucket which I have created, or the bucket where I want to upload the files. Click on this link. We will be redirected to a page which gives me the objects, means the list of files that are previously there, and I have a functionality to upload as well. And here we have some properties, permissions, metrics management, and access points. I cannot show this to you because it has some key information and some key codes which I don't want to make it public. So once you have created your own bucket, just go and validate what are those. Let us try to upload a file here. I'll click on upload. It will now ask me to add files. Click on this add files, or click on add folder. I'll go with add files. Once I click, it will now give me an open dialog box of operating system. Here I will select the file, or I can select multiple files. So one by one file will be uploaded into the system. Let me select this PowerPoint and click on open, and you see the file is uploaded in just blink of second. To remove a file, I have to select this and click on remove, and it will give me total area, total memory that is consumed in my S3. This is how we manage our S3. Next video is going to be a surprise because we will be integrating our AWS into Visual Studio, and we will be using C# as our language to connect to AWS first and then connect it to S3, then upload a file and see the file is uploaded here. So with this, I would like to conclude the S3 session, which is our day 3 session. Only one request I have: if you like my videos and my explanation is good, do like, share and subscribe. I'm open for comments as well. If you want to give me any suggestions, do not hesitate to comment. Thank you and Jai Hind.